There are many laws governing emergency medical services. The Good Samaritan Law is usually there to protect an individual or teams of individuals providing direct care in good faith within their scope of practice. Nevertheless, we need to make sure to know and understand the laws within the state of which you are performing and licensed. To understand, there are criminal and civil laws that impact EMS professionals in the delivery and provisions of their service to the patients that they interact with. Some criminal law categories include assault, in which you physically or verbally insult a patient. It is closely aligned with battery, which is more of the physical harming of that individual. This means unwarranted communication of or with a patient, as well as touching them. For example, if you were to take their pulse without them allowing or acknowledging that you can do so, it may be loosely construed or construed as battery. Another term would be false imprisonment, which is taking someone against their own will and holding them there. It's very close aligned to kidnapping. And therefore, we talked about in the class about consent and the need to get this consent either informed, where we speak to the patient and draw a large communication designed around giving the patient as much information to make an informed decision and to consent to our treatment and transport. In other forms of consent, we look at minor's consent, of which a patient is under the age to make a legal decision. This could be age appropriate or cognitively appropriate, meaning that someone is mentally incapable of making that decision, although their age is higher than a minor's age. Their other consent would be implied. In an implied consent, we look at a patient that is unresponsive or unable to make a cognitively sound decision, and so we would do the best to provide care. As far as civil, a term negligence is part of where we do something that perhaps is not in our scope of practice, and we call malpractice. There are certain elements that they need to prove, but it would be doing something beyond your scope of practice, doing something incorrectly, meaning the skill was performed out of a step or untimed. Please understand that the documentation and communication that you will perform will also be part of a medical and legal record. Your communication may be a legal medical recording that may be used during a court proceeding. Your documentation will definitely be pulled in for and review of in a court proceeding. And these would be looking at larger elements, such as a breach of contract in which, or a breach of duty in which you did not perform, or in that you provided care and then left the patient without a means or transportation to the hospital, that would be called abandonment. Also under abandonment would be transferring a care of a patient to a provider with less medical training than you have. There is also the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, Hipaa. Under Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA, as well as Drug Abuse and Drug Control Acts, which we will go over shortly.